welcome you watching a brand new episode of The Cover, a show where we share with you a sneak peek into the latest Business Today magazine issue. And with me on the show, I have a full panel. Krishna Gopalan, Deputy Editor, Business Today magazine, Prerna, Lidhoo, and Vidya, special correspondents of the Business Today magazine, join right in. Welcome, panelists, and thank you so much for taking the time out on this special edition. And now, to reveal the first look of the latest magazine issue to all our viewers, I have the issue in my hands, and you can see Ajay Piramal, who is the chairman of Piramal Group, as the cover issue is on him, and it says that he is ready for battle. Now, what is the battle that he's getting ready for is something that we will discuss on the show with all our panelists. Let me kickstart this discussion with you, Krishna. Now, before we dive right in to the cover story about Ajay Piramal and what the Piramal Group is up to right now, could you give us some insights into the making of this issue? Now, I can see not one, but many covers also inside as well as I look through. Help me understand with the idea behind this kind of an innovation.
Yes, actually, thanks very much. There's actually a lot to read, and that's really the objective of having so many covers. We, of course, have the cover story. We also have a rather interesting special, which is on the SME 2.0. So we have the reporters who have actually done some serious ground level reporting. The other covers among those are there's one on the rupee. There's one the SME, of course. So in terms of a choice, there's a lot for the reader to pick up. So the whole idea was to ensure that depending on the choice of the reader, depending on what he wanted to read, there's always something for him to pick up.
Well, absolutely, Krishna. And now to understand from you about this very, very engaging cover and the cover story about how Ajay Piramal seems to be all set to unlock greater potential from his businesses. We know that the company has acquired DHFL, which is a beleaguered finance company, housing finance company, and the company has also announced a demerger of its businesses into two distinct parts now, the pharma business and the financial services business. What I want to understand from you as to how you covered this story, what are the implications of this proposed demerger from of Piramal Enterprises into these two divisions?
This is version 2.0 for Ajay Piramal. He's making a comeback of sorts to the pharmaceutical business. He sold a large part of it to Abbott in 2010 for about $3.7 billion. But we also have to go back in time because it was really the late 1980s when he took his baby steps in the pharma business by acquiring Nicholas. And then he went on an M&A acquisition spree, actually, because he picked up Roche, he picked up Rompolon, he picked up ICA, just to name a few companies. He exited the business. He's coming up to pharma at the most interesting time and coupling that with a very serious foray into financial services. So Piramal Enterprises, the listed company, now will be demerged, but you'll have the financial services as one part of the piece, but the pharma is the other part of the picture. So he's creating two distinct yet unrelated businesses with a singular objective of unlocking shareholder value. The return to pharma, coupled with the timing he's chosen to get into financial services, is what makes the issue so compellingly interesting.
But how different is Ajay Piramal's M&A strategy going to be this time around?
This time around, the aggregator approach continues. He's looking for specific niches. He looks for areas like dermatology, looks at ophthalmology, for instance, or hospital generics, but picks up businesses in those specific niches and then attempts to grow it. The difference here is that pharma valuations have hit the roof. So he's not really gobbling up companies as we are known to him having done in the past. He looks for specific product lines, understands how they gel with existing businesses, and then makes it work. Let's not forget the most important factor here is that Ajay Piramal understands the pharma business from a point of view where he cracks the low-cost model and manages to exit the business at a very hefty margin. It's not a combination that one encounters very often in pharma. So that's really the difference as far as this particular version of the M&A piece is concerned. Coming to financial services, he had the wholesale piece, the retailer was missing. DHFL came to him courtesy of the NCLT, an asset that is stressed but very, very well run. So this completes the piece in terms of having wholesale, retail, and financial services, therefore, is a complete package. So I think that's what really makes this particular M&A foray extremely different.
Vidya, in fact, has covered a very fascinating story here of Tirupur, which not many of us know is a very small city near Chennai. But why is it really important? That's what Vidya will be helping us understand. So Vidya, why is Tirupur an important cluster in India and what does it really do?
Tirupur is a really small town, small city near Chennai in Tamil Nadu, and it is known for its self-started knitwear garment cluster. So it makes and exports knitwear clothes to countries like the US, UK, the European nations, Australia, Canada, and garners over $4 billion in exports. That's about a quarter of what the country totally makes in garment exports. And given that it's a small city, it employs 7 lakh people, and most of them are migrant laborers. So it's a huge employment generator as well. So that's the significance of Tirupur in the SME story.
But Vidya, what are the challenges that they face today? What is the way ahead for them?
The most urgent pain point that they're facing is the soaring yarn prices, the cotton yarn prices, because cotton costs, price of cotton has gone up in the country, and because of that, the yarn prices have also taken a beating. Which means that their garment costing also has gone for a toss, because yarn costs account for about 50% of a garment. But that is really only the tip of the iceberg, because if you dig deeper, it points to another important issue, which is India's over dependence on cotton, which is a seasonal crop, and which according to the exporters is what has kept us stagnated at only 3.4% of the global share in garment exports, whereas smaller countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam have raced past us within a very short span of time. And also the fact that we need to start looking beyond cotton into synthetics and polyviscose, modal, and these kinds of fabrics, which have a lot of business opportunities for these exporters. But unfortunately, although we have the raw material in India, we lack the technical know-how, of converting these fibers into fabrics of very high quality that can be used in exports. They're really banking on the PLI scheme and the FTAs that the government has been signing up lately to bring in some foreign knowledge and technical transfer to help them learn the skills and pick up the technology behind it, so that we can also prosper and increase our share in global garment exports.
Okay. Prerna, let me come across to you. Now, you write extensively on auto. You've been on our show a couple of times as well, talking about the fast-moving auto world. Now, in this issue, you've done a very special ground report from Pune Charcoal Auto Cluster, which is now getting ready for the EV explosion. Help us understand what you found out.
So it's actually a Make in India story, how when Tata Motors and Bajaj, they actually started with their plants, these small clusters developed around it, and that is how today it came to be known as the auto manufacturing hub in India. So you have all the interesting international players like Mercedes-Benz entering, Skoda, Harmans of the world entering here, and actually making the Indian players compete better, because they will obviously bring the costs down and everything. So that competition is what led to the creation of this manufacturing hub. And I would also like to mention that today they're looking at the future in a very skeptical as well as opportunistic kind of a way, because we all know that e-mobility is going to come. A lot of players I spoke to, they are skeptical as well as prepared for the e-mobility. A lot of them have a fear of going into oblivion if they do not compete and, spread their wings. So I think that is right now, like all these smaller players are looking at EV as an opportunity and a challenge.
So could you just mention some of the challenges that these auto MSMEs are really facing in the charcoal cluster especially?
One of the biggest challenge that an auto hub that should not be facing is connectivity and infrastructure. Chakan, which is closer to Pune, it still does not have an international airport. The nearest international airport is in Bombay, which is really inaccessible for people to come and trade from there. Chakan is also looking to develop itself into an EV manufacturing and export hub. How will that happen if you do not have the required infrastructure? A lot of people and the companies I spoke to, their associations, local industrial trade associations I spoke to, they're actually disappointed in the government, and they feel cheated that we've called so many international players, we've promised so much, but what is happening on ground? It's a very important part of our country, of the state, and I think the government should take care of they should listen to the industry on ground.
Krishna, let me come back to you for a sum of the entire discussion that we've had today and what the issue really brings to all our readers and viewers this time around.
I think it's a perfect mixture in the sense there are corporate stories. The SME is an integral part of India's growth story now. So there's a clear takeaway for the reader. And remember, the SME that we're speaking of is really going to be the next corporate as we see. So if you look at it, there's the markets focus, there's a corporate focus, the SME focus, and of course the back of the book. So from what I call a buffet perspective, there's a lot for the reader to pick up in this particular issue.
We want to understand the nitty-gritties of how smaller sectors in the economy are really looking ahead at times going forward. Do grab your copies and get all this insight from all these very, very important pillars of the Business Today magazine, Krishna, Prerna, Vidya. Thank you so much for being with us for this special edition.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.